Season 8 of Game of Thrones has ended. But the ending, was it that great? It couldn't be worse. I mean, honestly, we've seen worse endings from Dexter and Lost and maybe House and Breaking Bad. But the direction it was going, you can already tell what I'm here for. And if you looked in the bottom of the description, you already know what this is about. So, greetings everyone, it's me, Official Punch Shimmer here, and today I'm going to attempt to recreate the ending, or at least make a better ending, of how Game of Thrones should have ended. Because why? I'm a smartass. Ding. So, if anyone's not familiar with Game of Thrones or hasn't gotten the board of what's going on, fans are basically PO'd because the ending of Game of Thrones ended subparly. Let's just say subparly. And unfortunately, it kind of led to its somewhat demise, but yeah, keep seeing a lot on Game of Thrones. So, let's take on a challenge. So, before we even figure out how to fix this, main things. The first 2 episodes, perfectly done. The first 2 episodes of Season 8, perfectly done. Third episode's where we get a little bit botchy, but it's like little shit that we can ignore. It's like, kind of, like, I can dig it. Why they went in the direction they kind of went with. So, still half and half for me. But the ending is spot on. I think they did a well done job on that. Then we get the 4th episode. Here's where everything went wrong. The fact that Dany's been ignored by almost every Northernman that was up there celebrating for Jon Snow, that's bad, because this is supposed to be about the Northern, or the all 6 kingdoms, or whatever, Westeros, going down to beat Cersei's ass, and instead it's turning into more drama and more problems, and it's kind of a messy ordeal. Then you have the kind of lover relationship with Jon Snow and Daenerys, which is fine. I can understand that. That one's pretty good. I guess in some way it makes sense, even though Jon Snow's Aegon Targaryen. I mean, hey, we've seen relationships like that before. Jaime and Cersei. Oh yeah, but we'll get to him later. Then you have Rhaegal's death, which is really... You killed a dragon just because. Why not have more bloodshed? Like, really? Rhaegal didn't need to die, dude. So, yeah, and the fact that Daenerys forgot about the Iron Fleet. Yep, everyone's gonna remember that meme. Dany didn't know about the Iron Fleet. Yeah, really? They said it right when they said that the Iron Islands were captured again. Seriously? Yeah, that was a bad episode. And also the fact that they beheaded Myrcella. I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right. But yeah, that was a bad episode. And then the bells. Oh, God. Daenerys turning into the Mad Queen. Way to go. You've done screwed up the entire storyline of Daenerys Stormborn of Targaryen. Way to go. Way to fucking go. That's an F- there for... idea of trying to make a bullshit plot twist. M. Night Shyamalan edition. So yeah, that was a bad episode, especially when the men were surrendering. Really? When a man surrenders, you don't... That's not an honorable thing. You don't just keep slaughtering. What? Really? And also the fact that Tyrion kind of is... No, I would say is more of an unsung hero, because he didn't want the bloodshed to happen. He didn't want Cersei to think that Daenerys is gonna kill, or Cersei was gonna like try to keep the people safe or something. I don't know. The Clegane Bowl. Jesus fucking Christ! Can we not do an episode right, or at least a battle right? I understand the battle between the Hound and the Mountain is supposed to be like the big thing from like season 1 all the way down to 8, but seriously, the way it ended, just having them just crash over the fucking like rubble and then bomb drop into the fire. What the fuck? That's how you're gonna kill a good character like Sandor Clegane? Seriously? And I know I haven't read the books. I mean, I'm getting there. Just give me time to get through, or at least any of the books, because you know how long they are. It's like 10 times like the size of it. So yeah, Stephen King ate your fucking heart out. But yeah, that was terrible. The way they, well, I kind of understand that the whole symbolization of Arya being the Horseman of Death. I mean, come on, like, you can do better. And then, of course, the 6th episode, which is the Iron Throne. So, honestly. Man, it was already doomed from the start because, once again, Daenerys going Mad Queen, then choosing to liberate every single land of Westeros, which makes no sense because it kind of breaks character. It doesn't make foreshadowing a good story. It does, like, foreshadowing doesn't make a good story. It just makes it horrible. Then, of course, you got Jon Snow killing Daenerys, which is just why. Just once again, it's just like, why do you need more bloodshed? Like, what the fuck? That's not how you make a finale. Blood and gore like cheapens a movie and TV show. Though, Drogon burning the Iron Throne, which I would say is probably the best thing they've done, and I'll explain why throughout this whole telling. Then the meeting at the Dragon Pit. I'm assuming that's what it's called. The same one from season 7, episode 7, about the meeting of every single kingdom that was left over from the original war between the Starks and Lannisters. The meeting, it's so-so. It kind of makes sense. Tyrion's speech was pretty good. I think Bran the Broken being king, I mean, yeah, that was pretty good. Should have put a spoiler alert on this, but I'll probably put it in the description, so don't give me shit in the comments. This is literally, like, I guess a week or two after the final episode of the season, or series in general. And hearing the news about it's just, like, crazy shit, man. Bran the Broken becoming king, which is actually, I would say, a pretty good one that'll probably be seen later and throughout the revisioning for what I can see as a vision of a good ending. Jon Snow basically getting exiled to the Wall, I'm assuming. I have no idea what happened there, but I'm assuming they were like, yeah, Jon Snow's not trustworthy, let's just send him ass to the Black Keep or something, whatever it's called. The Wall. The Night's Watch needs him. The Starks reunion for the last time, it actually makes sense. I can honestly say that was a good way. That's a good send-off of each character. Seeing the Starks, the new small round table, or the small council meeting was pretty good. Seeing Bronn, Sam, Brienne of Tarth, basically everyone that survived the Hellish War in the 5th episode, and probably whatever's happened throughout this entire series. Just like seeing them finally like being almost committed like a family. Like they're finally getting rid of the debt. They're beginning to rebuild, kind of thing. And then of course Jon Snow heading back to literally going back into the Wall, the Night's Watch. And then of course you have the final image of the Starks finally going on their separate ways. Sansa being the Queen of the North. Arya heading west because she explained, well, there's got to be more in the west. It's an unknown world, which is kind of a symbolization to similarities to England to the United States at the history, if anyone's done that. And then of course Jon Snow going past the Wall and out to the Wildling lands. That's pretty much all it is. Yeah, there's a problem here. Clear problems since the second half of Game of Thrones, and it's disappointing. A disappointing ending to a very, very amazing show, and big fail. Big fail. Like, that was literally like the equivalent of seeing like a birthday party and there's like nothing. So how am I going to revise this? Well, if you're here and you've spent 10 minutes figuring out what the fuck I'm talking about, here we go. This is how I would end Game of Thrones, or at least the 8th season of Game of Thrones. Now, keep in mind, there's going to be 2 different ways of this will end, because I've kind of thought about it after the finale, and then thoughts afterwards, because there's 2 ways this could have gone. And it splits right at the Battle of Winterfell. So literally, the symbolization of the Winterfell battle could go one of two ways: the Night King winning, causing a retreat to King's Landing, or the Night King falling, and instead of Daenerys going Mad Queen, she kind of realizes that whatever is causing Cersei to be this heinous human being, she needs to stop that, but instead of causing bloodshed, death, and fire and blood. So basically, here's how this shit will go down. We'll keep the first two episodes because those are a perfect build up to the Battle of Winterfell. Honestly, like having Jaime Lannister riding in to Winterfell in the last portion of the first episode, and then of course the trial, that was damn good. The setup for like the idea of what's gonna happen, the long night that comes ahead. I mean, you have that spot on. Battle for Winterfell. I think, I mean, maybe there's some revision stuff. Here's a nitpick from the second episode. So the whole strategy of like having the Dothraki on, I'm gonna use this as an example. Having the Dothraki on the front lines and then charging into the White Walkers. No, you should have had at least a good perimeter around Winterfell, because they could have come down this way, they could have gone down this way or this way. So this center port's Winterfell. So they could have done a nice perimeter around. And instead of having the Unsullied at the same, like behind the Dothraki, they should have had it behind the barricade that they were making with the fire. So that was a major flaw there. Now this is where we begin to branch off, the endings wise. So instead of like, let's go with the Night King winning actually first and get a clear idea what the hell we can do with that. So here's how this will go down. Ending number 1. Night King wins. So basically, this will happen during the Battle of the Winterfell. In other words, basically, they're outnumbered. They're heavily outnumbered by the Whites and the White Walkers. And even the fact that the Night King has Viserion, I'm not sure if I'm botching his name right. My bad. My apologies. And then they basically start wrecking the shit out of Winterfell, basically turning it into a giant fucking burning rubble, causing everyone to retreat. Jon Snow, Daenerys, everyone falls back. They realize they're screwed. And basically, Night King tries to find Bran at the tree. Kind of similar to the plan that they had originally going on in the second episode, or the first episode, whatever episode they were having that plan in. They end up taking Bran, and they basically put a dummy there. Basically, they screw the Night King over, and the Night King's actually furious. Even though he's won the battle, he realizes that Bran's not there, and he's like pissed off. He's pissed. He causes the burning of the tree, basically. In other words, he uses Viserion to burn the fucking tree alive. Basically, burn the shit out of Winterfell, causing it to be a giant smoke and ash, and basically leave Winterfell in ruins. Similar to the third season, or third or fourth season, I don't remember where, Theon Greyjoy went in and kind of took over Winterfell while Robb Stark was being knightly and shit. Then the fourth episode would basically be them traveling to King's Landing. Cersei Lannister sees that they've lost the battle, and she almost looks like, so you guys kept crawling back to me. We have the Golden Company. We can beat your ass. Then basically Jon Snow and Tyrion try to convince Cersei that this is a bigger problem. The dead are rising. Shit's going all over the place. Jaime, I think Jaime's a part of this too. He actually gets to Cersei and tries to convince her that the dead has won. They've destroyed, completely annihilated Winterfell, and Cersei's realizing, oh crap, we're next, aren't we? So yeah, so Cersei kind of has to make a choice between killing everyone and having the Whites come in and the White Walkers basically demolish Winterfell, or Cersei can put aside her differences for a short bit of time. I'll get to the why later. and basically help the living to survive the next battle. And in other words, the snow is beginning to fall in King's Landing like it did in the 7th episode. So winter basically came for King's Landing. The snow's falling a lot. The Night King slowly approaching King's Landing. The dead are slowly approaching King's Landing. Basically, it's like an all-out, here we go, the big battle's begun. And yeah, we can have Rhaegal kind of have like these major wounds, but Viserion will still be kind of alive. I guess we can have him look like he did in the 3rd episode, like he's torn to shit, but he's still alive kind of thing. So we can keep that because I actually like that portion of the sequence of events. So we'll keep that in mind. Then we can have like basically like the 4th episode's basically all of them trying to convince Cersei, we need your help. We're beaten to shit. We have no plan. Winterfell's a complete fucking mess. The dead are coming. The Night King's coming. The White Walkers are coming. We have no troops left. We are shit out of luck. Can you please help us? Cersei kind of rejects him at first, but then after seeing Jaime bloodied and completely like looking like he just went through hell of fire and brimstone, or in this case like hell, ice, and snow, I guess. I don't know where that was going. She kind of just realizes, yeah, we need to rally up the troops and we need to start taking this to a higher level. So, and also, Euron Greyjoy is going to be involved in some way because he's got the Iron Fleet and kind of joins forces with the other, I guess, the other half of the Iron Island troops, I guess. He does realize that Theon Greyjoy... I think we're going to keep the Theon Greyjoy sacrificing himself. Kind of basically be like, you know... He kind of died for a like, he didn't die in vain, but he died trying to protect Winterfell and Bran. So, basically, it would make sense if he would be... I would say the spurring of the turnaround, or the crap, I gotta think of what the term is. I think the turning point of the battle, I guess, or the turning point of the war between the living and the dead. So, of course, Cersei and Euron Greyjoy decide, you know what, let's side with them. Let's get our troops ready. Let's get the Scorpions ready, the new improved ones that were shown in episodes 4 and 5, I believe. And let's get King's Landing protected. Everyone into the Red Keep. And basically have everything ready. The Golden Company is working with Jon Snow and Daenerys. Daenerys is kind of at a panic because she saw the White Walkers basically take over and what they could do. Even seeing some of her troops, the Unsullied, the Dothraki, coming back from the dead, she's almost pissing herself. Like, she's like, oh shit, we've got to win somehow. So she's basically like, she's really worried, though she looks at Cersei. She understands this is her enemy, but at the same time, this is a very serious issue that they need to handle. Then we get to episode 5, which is like the first battle of, well, I guess the long battle for King's Landing, I guess, or the battle of the living and the dead, the last battle, the final confrontation. The Night King's literally there, like, they're getting ready for big war. The Golden Company's ready, and they basically start all-out fighting in the 5th episode. It's like an all-out war. It would probably surpass the Battle of Winterfell, honestly, because it would take place 2 episodes. Yeah, literally, 5 and 6 will be the battle for King's Landing. Yeah, I can do that if I wanted to. So, basically, big all-out war, basically bloodshed. We got main characters kind of dying left and right. Cersei kind of sees Jaime decide he needs to go out and fight because, once again, he's in love with Brienne of Tarth. Yeah, that'll piss off Cersei. I think that's where Cersei kind of realizes, oh, you big son of a bitch. So, yeah, we can basically see that happening. Then you've got, I guess, maybe we can have Jaime die because, you know, he protects Brienne of Tarth, and basically it's a symbolization that he loves Brienne more than he loves Cersei, which pisses Cersei off, and she kind of realizes, you know what? you can't kill my brother on my watch. And I think she turns Mad Queen, not Daenerys. Please God, no. And there will be a converging of the endings right after the. I'll explain in a minute or later during this whole thing. Then we'll have basically the battle lasts for like 2 episodes or maybe 3 if we were to do episode 7 if we want to. So basically, the turning point is basically like everyone rallies up and basically attacks the White Walkers. Of course, it'll be the final battle between Jon Snow and the Night King, maybe. But then again, you've got Arya Stark, so we'll use her in the second ending, which I'll explain in a minute. So basically, Jon Snow and the Night King fight. Jon Snow's badly wounded because the Night King decides, I'm going to stick him on the leg and the arm and get him in the face a little bit, leave him a nice new scar in his eye. And he's close to death, but he has Longclaw. So he uses Longclaw and jabs him right in the heart of the Night King, basically just killing him, causing the Whites to die. Then Cersei notices the dead falling over. She looks, and you guys are probably going to hate me for this, but then she kind of orders the Mountain to kill Jon. Yeah. So basically, we would have the Battle of the Mountain and the Hound there. Basically, the Hound's protecting Jon Snow. Daenerys realizes that, oh shit, Cersei went back to her old ways. The Golden Company looks like hell, and they're kind of shitting their pants because they don't like what they saw. Bronn's basically there too. I think he came along in episode 4. I think he should in episode 4, at least for the helping of everyone. So he gets to fight alongside Jaime and Brienne Tarth and everyone. And then, of course, you have the Kingsguard trying to turn their swords against Jon Snow's army. Big mistake. And so basically, Jon Snow's army versus Cersei. So once again, we're back to the Battle of Bloodshed. And you guys are going to hate me for this, but Cersei does end up having one of his men ordered to kill Jon Snow. And it actually successfully happens. Jon Snow's dead. Daenerys is actually bloody pissed because you can't just kill my man like that. And then basically it's the turning point. Basically, Jon Snow's death causes like a big major rally and basically obliterates Cersei's army. And so basically Cersei's defeated. Her army's defeated. The Mountain's killed, and I think we'll have Sandor die as well because of blood loss. Shitty way to go out, but at the same time he does pull a witty insult to the queen, basically just saying fuck the Kingsguard, fuck the city, fuck the king, and fuck the queen. Fuck the Lannisters, basically. Tyrion will probably be involved with most of this too. He would basically try to find Daenerys and literally look up and realize that Cersei's kind of turned against everyone, and this basically says, go ahead, kill her. She's lost my hope. So basically, Euron Greyjoy basically dies as well from, I guess, Grey Worm, because why not? Then finally you have basically Cersei getting surrounded, and then Cersei's kind of at that point, she's like, go ahead, kill me. Daenerys is pissed off and thus uses Drogon to basically burn the fuck, or I would say burn her and then eat her alive. So let's do something different. Instead of just burning people alive, let's just see Drogon eat someone. Mainly Cersei Lannister, because that'll be enough fuel for her fire. Or his fire. My bad. So I'll explain why I'm converging the endings. So that's one ending. Ending number 2 is basically we keep all 3 episodes like they are. The 4th episode, we do things differently. Instead of basically, we keep the funeral sequence. And then, of course, we get to see the celebration of how they win, but instead they're basically they're almost they're celebrating the heroes of the war, Arya Stark, but instead they Jon Snow's trying his hardest to keep Daenerys as the queen of the Westeros, because once again that's his queen, he wants to follow her, and it's kind of crazy. So basically, Jon Snow's trying his best to convince everyone, hey, Daenerys isn't a bad human being, please trust her, and they were like, no, no, man, Jon Snow, you all the way, go for the crown, go for the crown, go for the throne. Then I think at some point during the 4th episode, they both kind of leave. They're like disgusted, and then we get all the sequences from before in that 4th episode. So we'll keep kind of all that. But Jon Snow and Daenerys are basically having a heart-to-heart. They're like realizing, you know, why do we need a throne at all? Like, why do we need a throne made of swords? Like, they kind of realize there's something up with that throne in general. They basically think it's like bad luck, cursed. Because, yeah, it's made by a Dragonfire, or Dracarys. So they're like, you know what, maybe this throne could be deadly and dangerous. Maybe. So, yeah, basically they're starting to think, wait, this Iron Throne's not as good as it says it is. Like, literally, there's some stuff that's bad about it. And then basically you have both of them going to Bran and talking about it. And even Bran's like, it's possible that the Iron Throne could be cursed. And like anyone that sits on it turns into a mad, bad motherfucker kind of thing. Like they completely lose everything about themselves and turn into a monster basically. And this kind of worries Daenerys and Jon. They're like, oh, do you think that's what happened to our dad kind of thing? Or your dad or my dad? I don't know. So they kind of start thinking about it. They start to figure out a plan to go into King's Landing with at least the minimal amount of bloodshed as possible, because they don't want to go in and start causing havoc. So basically it's like, how are they going to get into King's Landing? Then, like, throughout the entire thing, I guess Daenerys tries to go back to Dragonstone. Instead of Rhaegal dying, he literally notices the Iron Fleet's there and actually saves Daenerys, even himself, from getting attacked by the Iron Fleet. Yes, we're keeping this sequence of the Iron Fleet destroying part of the fleet, or the Targaryen fleet. And, of course, we still have the capturing of Myrcella, or whatever her name is. I gotta look up the name, probably. And once again, I'm sorry if I'm botching names. Then it goes from, like, literally, I guess, either Tyrion or Dany sends Jon a message saying, we need your help. We've got a big problem here. And they got my advisor. And then Jon's like, okay, maybe this is no time to work. This is literally getting bad. And so he sails out to Dragonstone with, I guess you could say, with Arya basically. So Arya joins along. Well, no. What am I saying? Arya's with the Hound. We'll keep the Arya and the Hound sequence because that builds up the Battle of the Cleganes. Alright, Jaime Lannister and fucking Brienne of Tarth. We are not going to have Jaime basically say that I'm a bad guy, I'm going with Cersei. No, fuck that. We're not doing that shit. Instead of Jaime basically saying, you know, like, I'm a bad guy, you don't want to be with a bad guy kind of thing, he kind of realizes, wait, maybe Cersei's not the greatest human being in the world, and he starts to have a realization. All the heinous things that his sister has done, and he still loves her. He starts to realize, wait, do I really love this woman? And so he looks at Brienne, he says, Brienne, my sister's a monster, but I want to keep you safe from her. I'm doing this to protect you and our kid. I understand if you want me to stay, but I have to do this. I have to put an end to this. Even if I have to lose another arm again. And basically, like, Bran understands what's going on. He's going to kill Cersei. By all means. Everyone wants to kill Cersei for betraying the living. And so, basically, we get to the point. Once again, we're keeping a little bit of, like, the Daenerys army showing up at the gates. And, like, Scorpions are aiming. The Archers are aiming. Of course, Tyrion trying to convince Cersei, like, look, we don't have to have bloodshed. We don't have to have war. But instead of the Hound executing Myrcella, we have a sudden moment of like, oh wait, this is about to be war. So basically we have The same negotiations. We have the same line Dracarys being used, which will actually make sense later on in the 6th episode. Actually, 6th episode. For main good reasons. And instead of the execution, Myrcella jumps off the wall, and Rhaegal, this is where he comes in to have his big moment. Rhaegal actually saves Myrcella and flies her away from the battle. And I think this was discussed earlier while they're planning to begin their assault, or at least try to intimidate Cersei. Like, this is like during this, and they're like, if one of us gets captured, I'm going to use Rhaegal. Daenerys basically says that to everyone. They're like, okay, let's go with it. And I guess Jon Snow telling about his true identity to his Starks. No, let's not add that drama. Let's just keep that between Daenerys and Jon, because that's more trauma we don't need. So that's the 4th episode. It ends basically with Daenerys giving us like a smirk of like, yeah, you're next, as she walks away happily, knowing that her advisor's safe. Grey Worm's probably in relief, but looks at Daenerys like, wait, how'd you know? So it basically ends on like, holy crap, this is gonna be war. And so the 5th episode, they're in Dragonstone. Instead of Daenerys like turning into the Mad Queen, she's like, I think it's about time we got ready for war, Tyrion. And even though you failed us a little bit, you're not that bad. You've made mistakes. We're only human. She kind of has a wake-up call, like, yeah, this is, like, something's up with this throne. And it like, she begins to get suspicious about the throne. Jon's still having his suspicions. Like, everyone's, like, starting to, like, he starts to tell about the Iron Throne. Sam even starts to think, wait, what if the dragon that the Mad King used probably even cursed the Iron Throne? Like, whoever bestows onto the throne turns into a Mad King or a Mad Queen, hungry for power, wanting bloodshed, wanting to execute everyone, including his own people. So they start to come up with theories of why the Iron Throne is absolutely the worst thing you can have around in Westeros. And so they're basically planning out the battle, the bells, as everyone says. So basically, we get the same battle sequence, but we're building up to the final battles between Cersei and everyone else. The Hound and the Clegane Bowl, like we should have gotten. And then, of course, we should also get a little bit of, like, instead of, like, a major bloodshed, like, they start, like, literally keep everything, the battle between, like, the King's Landing army and then Jon's army. And then a little bit of the Unsullied and Dothraki. Like, Westeros versus the King's Landing army. Instead of them going for more bloodshed, like, right as the bell's ringing and Daenerys is, like, breathing, she starts to think. And she realizes, wait a minute, my dad cursed this throne. Why would I want it? Why would I want something that he would just use and abuse the power? So instead, here's what happens. Daenerys starts to have a turnaround and realize, this throne's not worth my life. This throne is not worth a name of Targaryen. So instead, she flies Drogon out of King's Landing, but ends up getting Rhaegal, and both Drogon and Rhaegal fly into King's Landing, and given one mission: protect King's Landing from Cersei. That is the goal. Defend the people and make sure Cersei does not cause any more bloodshed. This is the setup for the 6th episode, or the 7th episode, whether the lengths we have to go for this. And basically, the 6th episode is basically, we'll probably do this in the 6th episode, the final battle. Basically, the last battles of Cersei, the Mountain Hound, and basically Euron Greyjoy. Everyone's wanting Cersei dead, Arya Stark including. Yeah, Arya's involved. Like, she fought in this mess, kind of, because well, I don't think so, because they snuck in. So basically, everyone's meeting up at the same point. They're meeting up at the map. The Hound and Arya don't know this, so maybe we can move the Arya and the Hound's moment inside the map room, or whatever that big courtyard was. Like, maybe have that moment happen in the 6th episode. And then basically have Jon's army come in. Jon Snow, Grey Worm, Um, the Brienne of Tarth, Jaime Lannister, all the main characters are involved with this final battle. Basically, like this is it. This is the conclusion of a long battle. Like minus Sansa Stark because she's staying in Winterfell. Yeah, and Brienne also joins the battle in the 5th episode because she realizes what Jaime's doing is suicide. So once again, they go. Basically, all the main characters are basically there minus Sansa, and they go to find Cersei basically, and Cersei's heading to the throne, and basically like thinking, oh well, this is it, my final days, isn't it? So she basically is like trying to figure out how can I screw everyone over again. Like she's in desperation mode basically. She's like, all right, I gotta figure out what to do. Then they pretty much they don't even kill any guards. They don't murder any guards. They don't do anything to the guards. They just they start to waltz on in. Like they know what's up. They know the final battles between them and Cersei. So they get to the throne room, of course, and they're like Jon Snow and Daenerys demand Cersei to surrender, but Cersei basically says, "No, I'm not surrendering. This throne belongs to the Lannisters and no one else." And so basically, Sandor notices the mountain, and I guess Cersei playfully jokes and says, "You know what? You want the throne that badly? Choose your champion. Let's have a final battle right here." You'll know why in a minute, why she's saying this. So basically, she chooses the mountain, the Hound comes in, and then it's basically the Battle of the Clegane Bowl. Like, this will be throughout almost the entire episode, but we'll give a different ending to Sandor and Gregor Clegane. Like, which one, demises. So basically, they're fighting. But then Daenerys starts to plot a little bit. She grabs a crossbow. Yeah, guess what? She is armed and dangerous. So basically, she tries to assassinate Daenerys. Jaime tries to intervene. And in other words, she's basically saying, "Sister, please don't do this. You do not want to cause more havoc than what's already happened. Don't do this to all of us." And then she basically looks at Jaime and then looks at Brienne. And basically what happens is pretty much, everyone's probably going to hate this too, but she tries to kill Brienne, but instead Jaime takes his own life by getting in front of the bolt, and takes it and basically kills Jaime. So basically Cersei kills her own brother out of spite, because she knows that her and Brienne or Jaime were doing it. And so she's like, "You have betrayed me for the final time, and no one walks away from me." So Jaime dies in Brienne's arms, a sad moment, but now Jon's pissed, Daenerys is pissed. They begin to go after her, and Daenerys is hell-bent on trying to kill them, so she tries to cowardly run away, and everyone's trying to go after her. And then, of course, you get an ambush from the King's Guards trying to protect Cersei, the Golden, a little bit of whoever's left, and they chose, you know what, we're going to fight. So we get a bit of a confrontation, we get a bit of war, but then it's pretty much whoever we got left is Jon Snow, Daenerys, and, well, you'll figure out where Arya comes in a minute. But basically it's it's basically Jon Snow, Brienne of Tarth, and then Daenerys. Basically, they're taking the charge, they're trying to find Cersei. If they end up chasing her down to the basement where the dragon head is, the big dragon head and the original scorpion. So basically, she tries to use that on Dany. Jon pushes her out of the way, nearly grazes his hair. So we're gonna get instead of basically having him get hit, he's just his hair gets grazed and he feels the sudden tug of his hair, like, there's a bit of blood coming out because of how much was, like, that shot really felt. And he's, like, looking. He sees Cersei trying to aim for them. Now, Euron Greyjoy's still battling with all the people. He dies from, I guess, the mountain accidentally slicing his head off, which is a throwback to when he slices his own horse's head off, which is... And of course, we still get the Battle of the Mountain of the Hound. Well, let's do that one first. Let's see how that ends, because instead of them both pushing each other out into the fiery abyss, Sandor's blinded, and thus basically like plunges a dagger into his heart, tries to search for his sword with assistance of Arya. Yeah, Arya's going to be involved. She realizes that the Mountain is trying to kill his own brother murderously, and thus she decides to get her dagger out and slice the Mountain's legs, basically at the Achilles heel and at the back of the kneecap. So basically, she slices into that. The Mountain goes down. Sandor's still blind, and basically, like Arya guides the Hound to kill his own brother, and basically to decapitate the shit out of the Mountain, like literally botching up, like right here, a nice cut, like causing a blood, like 3 chops right here, 1, 2, 3, decapitated the Mountain, and Sandor is completely blind because of having his eyes like nah. So yeah, that happens, and then Arya realizes, oh shit, Jon's down there. I have to go save him. This is also during the fact that Tyrion notices his sister has ran to use the Scorpion on them. And this is still during that whole fight. And then we finally get back to where we are. Cersei's about to launch a giant fucking scorpion bolt at them. And the walls actually suddenly get crashed, and Rhaegal takes a shot. Yes, he takes a shot for Jon and Daenerys. Basically, Rhaegal sacrifices himself with a scorpion right in his heart. And he basically dies. Well, he honorably dies with, like, nudging Jon Snow as he, like, says, get her. Fucking ruin her. And so, basically, Cersei tries to reload. She notices that Daenerys is open. Perfect shot. Then suddenly the scorpion breaks, and the binding of the bow part of the giant fucking crossbow actually snaps and rips a nice like chunk of Cersei's face from like right here. Like she's disfigured as shit. Like literally she's got a giant blood gushing a little bit down her face. She's like shocked. She's like, what the fuck? And then she sees her own brother with a knife. He cut the wire as he like literally backs up saying, I warned you not to do it. But you didn't listen. Did you? And so Cersei's furious. Her face is disfigured. Her livelihood's completely fucked. She's hell-bent on killing her own brother, her bastard brother, and thus charges at him, kicks him in the face, forcing him to drop the dagger, and then he like literally she tries to stab him to death, but Jon runs over, pulls Cersei off, but actually gets stabbed in the leg, and then of course the shoulder, and trying to kill him. And then Daenerys comes in once again, tries to do the same thing, gets bitch slapped majorly by Cersei, and like says, you better get the fuck away from me. Bran tries to go in and help, and then of course she gets like kicked, but then Cersei looks at Daenerys like, wait a minute, I can kill the queen right now. She gets up and goes to her, and then basically like she's ready to plunge a dagger into her heart. She's like, this is not your kingdom anymore, Targaryen bitch. It's mine, and it will always be mine. And basically, as she's ready to plunge his dagger down, suddenly she's stabbed from the back to, I guess, the section of her aorta, like right below her heart. She realizes she's stabbed. She looks and she notices it's a thin blade. Like, she's in shock. Like, what the hell stabbed me? She drops the dagger. Arya's right behind her, and she is like ready to kill. Arya basically pulls out the dagger, the Valyrian steel dagger, and basically says, "I've seen many faces, and I've seen the face of death, but I am death himself. Enjoy it down there, Cersei." And so basically, Arya slits Cersei's throat, fittingly killing off Cersei Lannister in the most grisly way possible. Not only by needle, but also the Valyrian steel dagger that Littlefinger tried to use on Bran. And Cersei's dead. And that's how she dies. Basically, Dany's trying to help everyone, like completely in shock. Their kid died. Again, Rhaegal died. Jon's injured. Tyrion's bloodied as all hell, but still breathing. He's like almost in critical condition. She basically orders Bran, get help now. And so basically, like, she nods and runs to find help, and Tyrion's like looking at Cersei's dead body, like almost like, I'm sorry, sis, I failed my own family. So basically, that's how the second ending now. Now we can go into convergence. What converges these endings? So take it a couple days later after the fighting, and basically everything's almost getting back to normal. Everyone's starting to realize Cersei's dead, and now there's no ruler of King's Landing and the Seven Kingdoms. Sansa actually goes there, and we have a giant meeting within all the leaders, and Drogon's inside, like he's like protecting Dany from outside invaders, and basically everyone's trying to figure out what to do, who will be on the Iron Throne. Dany, even though Jon Snow basically votes Dany basically stands up and says, "Lords and ladies, I do not want the Iron Throne, nor do I think the Iron Throne is worthy to be kept around here." So everyone's basically there. They're watching her. She looks at the Iron Throne. She talks about the whole thing from the 6th episode of how it was made by 1,000 swords, how it was made by her father. But then she basically says, "My father turned mad and possibly caused this throne, this symbol of what makes us who we are, turn anyone that sits on it into a monster. Just like Joffrey, Cersei, anyone that sit on the Iron Throne has become mad with power." And so she basically like looks at Drogon and almost looks at the Iron Throne. She walks up to the throne itself, trying, like, going back to the vision of like trying to touch it, but then she's realizing, wait a minute, why am I going near this throne? It's caused so much hurt and pain and misery and death and absolute turn people into nutters. She suddenly pulls her hand back and backs away from the throne and says, "Goodbye, father. Time to rest." And so she looks at Drogon and then back at the throne, and then she says the words, "Dracarys." Drogon burns the Iron Throne, and the Iron Throne melts before him, and then it's basically the end of the Iron Throne. It's over. The Iron Throne's completely destroyed. Everyone's almost in shock. Jon's like, wait, what just happened? And so basically everyone's like, wait, what's going on? Dany turns around and says, "You know what? I don't think the Iron Throne belongs to me, nor do I think I belong here. I don't want this place. I don't want the Seven Kingdoms anymore, because my job is done. I have made sure the people were safe, and I'm happy that there are no more tyrants in the world." So she's basically giving up the idea of the throne. And then she looks at Tyrion to emphasize what's going on. Grey Worm's almost in shock. everyone's in shock. They're like, wait, what? And so basically, Tyrion gives his heartfelt speech, and then he looks at Bran, basically asks him, like, if he wants to be on the Iron Throne. And instead of Bran says, why do you think I came out here? He starts to think, wait, what? No, I don't want this throne. But then Daenerys kind of comes over and, like, kneels before him and says, look, we've all made some very, very big mistakes. All of us have. And I think it's about time that I gave you something in return for everything, including the truth and including trying to save all of us. So basically, she gives the throne to Bran, and it looks at Tyrion and says, and as my final order, Tyrion, you'll be his hand. And so basically, Bran becomes the king. Everyone agrees, like, and Tyrion basically says, like, why should kings be birthed? Like, they should be chosen, kind of thing. So they all agree. Dany says aye. Jon says aye. Everyone says aye. And so they give the chant that Bran the Broken, first his name, you already know the rest. So basically, Bran's the king. Jon and Dany decide where we go from here, and they look at each other for a moment, and then they think, well, there's a big open world out there. I guess we're going to go out and save people. And so basically both Targaryens leave, I guess either on Drogon or on horses, and they just go on and go to save more lives with the Unsullied and the remaining Dothraki. Sansa makes Winterfell an independent place, like once again an independent kingdom. Once again, we're basically having Arya go to the west. So basically it's almost the same ending, but instead everyone's got a peaceful ending. There's a statue of Jaime outside King's Landing, basically symbolizing his heroicness. And then basically the small council meeting. I think that's how Game of Thrones would have ended. And then like the ending, the Song of Fire and Ice, instead of having like Jon Snow, I think Jon Snow also rallies the wildlings too. And they basically said, you know what, I need your help one more time. And it's for another reason. And they basically follow him. So basically the wildlings, the Unsullied, the Dothraki, they're going out and they're going to liberate anyone that dares to challenge Bran Stark, Bran the Broken, and his rule. And basically hurt anyone, similar to how they did things. So Dany basically is teaching him the ropes. And everyone's ready to move on. The years of peace have begun, and it's finally at a point where now this is how the Song of Fire and Ice is going to end. Basically, Jon Snow's doing what he wants to do. Everyone's doing what they want to do. Bran's on the throne, and everyone has years of peace until the next war, which is unknown. So yeah, everyone, that is how I would change the ending of Game of Thrones. And boy, I felt like I just went through hell and back trying to explain everything, and it's crazy, like really crazy. So I don't know, you guys give me your thoughts on how Game of Thrones should have ended, because I'm curious myself how it would end, and the fact that it's possibly going to get remade, I don't know if that's going to be true, especially with 1 million signatures on the petition. So who knows, maybe there will be a remake. It's just a sit and wait game kind of thing, so we'll have to wait on that. So once again, thank you guys for sitting here and listening to me rant, or at least try to change an ending that's absolute dog shit for almost 55 minutes. So yeah, if you enjoyed this long how should the Game of Thrones be changed, put a like for my long fucking trying to explain how it could end. Favorite if you want to, if you enjoy the whole franchise itself. Subscribe if you want more material. Oh man, I need to take a break from speaking a lot because my throat hurts. God, 55 minutes of talking. Who would have thought that? Alright. Time for this guy to go find some wines and tits. Maybe. Alright, everyone. Have fun. Winter's coming. And I'll see you in the next video.